This is All India Radio. Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India agrees to release 5 million barrels of crude oil from its strategic petroleum reserves. President Ramnath Kovind confers gallantry awards at the third Defence Investiture ceremony today. India and United States reaffirms their commitment to take economic relationship to next high level. Germany issues a serious warning to its citizens as the country adds 30,643 cases on Monday. 46 people die in a bus accident in western Bulgaria. And in hockey, Men's Junior World Cup 2021 tournament to begin in Bhubaneswar on Wednesday. As India created history by administering over 100 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, All India Radio salutes all the doctors, nurses, other frontline workers and all those who got vaccinated and made this possible. Even though the country has achieved this feat, we caution our listeners that the battle against COVID is not yet over. We appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and also help others get vaccinated. During the festival season, please follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 0112397846 and 1075. And now the news in detail. India has agreed to release 5 million barrels of crude oil from its strategic petroleum reserves. This release will happen in parallel and in consultation with other major global energy consumers, including the USA, China, Japan and South Korea. Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas in a statement said that India strongly believes that the pricing of liquid hydrocarbons should be reasonable, responsible and be determined by market forces. India has repeatedly expressed concern at supply of oil being artificially adjusted below demand levels by oil-producing countries, leading to rising prices and negative attendant consequences. The ministry said that the Prime Minister has been consistently reviewing the high petroleum and diesel prices domestically. President Ramnath Kovind conferred gallantry awards at the third Defence Investiture ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan on Tuesday. Colonel Santosh Babu was accorded Mahavir Chakra posthumously for resisting Chinese army attack while establishing an observation post in Galwan Valley in Ladakh sector during Operation Snow Leopard. Subedar Sanjeev Kumar of 4 Para Special Forces was accorded the Kirti Chakra posthumously. Naib Subedar Nuduram Soren, Havaldar K. Padani, Naik Deepak Singh and Sepoy Gurtej Singh were awarded Veer Chakras posthumously for their gallant actions against the attack by the Chinese army in the Galwan Valley as part of the Operation Snow Leopard. Indian Air Force Chief Air Marshal Vivek Chaudhary received the Param Vishisht Seva Medal. Later in the second part of the ceremony, Jammu and Kashmir Police Head Constable Abdul Rashid Khalas was awarded Kirti Chakra posthumously. Jammu and Kashmir Special Police Officer Bilal Ahmad Magre was awarded Shaurya Chakra posthumously. Lieutenant General C.P. Mohanty, Vice Chief of Army Staff, also received Param Vishisht Seva Medal from the President.
India and United States today reaffirmed their commitment to take economic relationship between the 2 countries to the next higher level. India and the United States held the 12th ministerial level meeting of the India-United States Trade Policy Forum, TPF, in New Delhi today. The meeting was held with a view to advancing the goal to develop an ambitious shared vision for the future of the trade relationship, as announced by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Joe Biden at the meeting on 24 September this year. Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal and US Trade Representative Ambassador Catherine Tai co-chaired the TPS meeting. The two leaders underlined the importance of integrating the two economies across sectors to harness the untapped potential of the relationship. The United States has advised its citizens against traveling to Germany and Denmark. This has been advised by the U.S. officials following surging numbers of coronavirus infections in Europe. The U.S. State Department warned Americans yesterday not to travel to Germany due to the very high level of COVID-19 infection in that country. The advisory came after fresh advice from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Denmark, Belgium, Croatia, Hungary, Austria and Netherlands have also been issued with the CDC's highest level for warning. Germany, the EU's most populous nation, is currently grappling with its fourth and more severe wave of the pandemic.
The German Health Minister Jens Spahn has issued a serious warning to the citizens of the country. Jens Spahn said probably by the end of this winter everyone in Germany will be vaccinated. He also urged more Germans to get the jab. Outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel has also warned that Germany's current COVID restrictions, including barring the unvaccinated from certain public spaces, are not enough. Merkel told that the country has a highly dramatic situation as new infections double every 12 days. The European Union's most populous country, Germany, added another 30,643 cases on yesterday, bringing the total since the start of the pandemic to just more than 5.3 million. Meanwhile, Austria reimposed a national lockdown yesterday as it continued to register a record number of COVID-19 infections. Some other European countries, such as the Netherlands and Slovakia, have barred non-vaccinated people from accessing any non-essential stores or shopping malls. Belgium and the United Kingdom are also experiencing a dangerous surge. Together, Europe is currently reporting nearly two-thirds of all new infections worldwide. Adolescent children in Kenya and Rwanda are now eligible to receive Pfizer COVID jabs as both countries kick off vaccine campaigns. Rwanda will be vaccinating children from the age of 12 and above from Tuesday, while Kenya is allowing those from 15 years. Rwanda has the highest fully vaccinated population in East Africa with over 20% of the total population. The rest of the region, including Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, have vaccinated less than 10% of their total population. In Kenya, the Health Ministry expects to receive 4 million doses of Pfizer vaccines for its campaign to vaccinate adolescents.
China yet again remains ambivalent on return of Indian students to their Chinese universities, even as it decides for early resumption of return of students from ASEAN countries, now after allowing students from South Korea and few other countries earlier. Joint statement of ASEAN-China Special Virtual Summit to commemorate the 30th anniversary of ASEAN-China dialogue relations held on Monday said the two sides will continue to enhance cooperation on education, including the early resumption of entry into China by the international students from ASEAN member states in a healthy, safe and orderly way. Asked if China will extend the same facility of the entry of international students from India and other South Asian countries who have been waiting for the return to China since last year, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hao Liqian parried the question on Tuesday. In Bulgaria, at least 46 people, including 12 children, have died after a bus crashed and caught fire in western part of the country. According to officials, the incident happened on a motorway southwest of the capital, Sofia. According to Interior Ministry official, the incident occurred after act near the village of Bosnik. North Macedonia's Prime Minister Zoran Zaev has already contacted his Bulgarian counterpart to discuss the incident. In another incident, 9 elderly people died when a fire swept through a nursing home in the eastern part of the country. The blaze broke out in an old school building turned into a care home for the elderly in the village of Royak. Fire Department Chief Tehomir Totev also told the local television. The other residents were evacuated from the building and some of them required medical care as they had inhaled smoke, the official added.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on India-Nepal relations. The participants are Ranjit Ray, former ambassador, and Simran Sodhi, journalist.
Today we are discussing the relationship between India and Nepal, and we will also be looking at this bilateral relationship from a historical viewpoint and how currently the relationship between the two countries stands. In conversation with us today is Ambassador Ranjit Ray, who served as India's ambassador to Nepal. He is also the author of a recently released book titled Kathmandu Dilemma, Resetting India-Nepal Ties. Ambassador Ray, when you look at this India-Nepal relationship in the present context, and we also find that it is one relationship which also sees its fair share of strains and tensions, how would you sum up the present relationship as it stands today?
Well, let me first say that the India-Nepal relationship is a very, very solid relationship. And it is based on very strong people-to-people links, government-to-government links, economic interaction. And in any relationship which is so close, there are bound to be some problems from time to time. So over the last few decades, you see a lot of ups and downs in the relationship. And I think the challenge for both countries is to ensure that these don't become permanent irritants, that problems that may arise in the relationship should be resolved through discussion and negotiation. Now, if coming to the immediate past, during the COVID period, the relationship has seen a lot of stresses and strains, and it has also improved. You would recall that, Nepal has changed its map and incorporated several Indian territories into the Nepalese map. And, this obviously led to a lot of pressure on the relationship. But thereafter, a lot of efforts were made. There were several high-level visits from India, both from the government and the party. Recently, there has been a meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Deuba in Glasgow during the, COP26 summit. Before that, there was a meeting between the two foreign ministers. So I think things are improving, considerably. And, since it is such an important relationship, I think we have to be constantly engaged with each other.
Ambassador Ray, we've also seen that India has very aggressively and very successfully followed the neighborhood first policy. Under Prime Minister Modi, we have seen India make our neighborhood a priority, and Nepal has of course been one of the countries where the Prime Minister has also visited multiple times during his tenure as PM. Do you feel, as you mentioned, the PM also met the Nepalese Prime Minister in Glasgow recently? One, would you say that the reset or the improvement in ties between India and Nepal also derives from our neighborhood first policy?
No, absolutely. I mean, because the neighborhood is so important, so we give primacy to our neighborhood in our foreign policy. And this is not just at the level of the government, but, it's also at the level of the people, at the level of the political parties. So clearly there must be stepped up engagement. And of course, our Prime Minister has visited 4 times during his tenure. This shows the importance that we attach to this relationship.
Master, when we discuss the India-Nepal ties, there is always the China factor also in the discussion. And we have seen of late China making a lot of effort, a lot of outreach towards Nepal. We've also seen that Nepal today is on board as far as the ambitious Belt Road Initiative of China is concerned. One, how do you look at this Chinese footprint in Nepal? And two, do you feel that India has something to worry about with what we see the Chinese behavior globally and especially in our own neighborhood?
So the first thing I want to say is that no other country can replace India in Nepal. Our relations are very strong, and the range of issues that we cover, the fact that Nepal's access to the rest of the world is through India, 2/3 of its trade is with India. So India and Nepal have a very, very substantial relationship, and nobody else can replace that. Having said that, Chinese footprint, as you said, is certainly increasing. Nepal is now a signatory to the Belt and Road Initiative. Nepal participates in a China-led SAARC subgroup that has recently set up a poverty alleviation center in Chongqing, China. And in 2019, the Chinese president visited Nepal after 23 years and upgraded the relationship to a strategic partnership. Similarly, there are very strong links between the communist parties in Nepal and the Communist Party of China. There is defense cooperation, there is cooperation, between the border guarding forces and intelligence services. So clearly, I think Chinese role in our neighborhood and especially in Nepal has increased significantly, including in internal political affairs of Nepal. And, this is something that India needs to monitor very carefully.
Ambassador Ray, would you say that what happened during the COVID crisis, we all saw that Nepal was very badly hit by the pandemic and India exported vaccines, but then we saw a very devastating wave at home also. How do you think that this pandemic and the harsh realities that came out of it has also played into this relationship?
No, certainly Nepal was also very badly affected by the pandemic, as were we. Initially we had the Vaccine Maitri initiative and we donated a lot of medicines, a lot of vaccines to Nepal. But unfortunately, since the pandemic hit us hard, we could not continue with this assistance. And, some other countries have stepped into the breach. But I think, our relationship is very robust. And now we are in the post-pandemic phase. And, the situation, of course, is much better. But the economic impact of the pandemic on the two countries cannot be denied. So we have to step up our joint economic projects and partnership programs.
Ambassador Ray, there's also been a little bit of critique that the Indian investments and the Indian projects that one sees in Kathmandu, in Nepal, also get delayed. There's a lot of time which these projects take to get going. And when you compare with some of the investments that the Chinese make, not just in Nepal, but globally, the rate at which the project moves is faster. One, do you feel this is a fair critique? And two, is this an area in which India can work harder and maybe, try and remove this one critique or this one strain which comes in the relationship?
No, I think this is a fair critique, and this is something we are looking into and have looked into and are trying to improve our project delivery and efficiency. One of the things is that we use procedures for project implementation abroad that are similar to procedures in India. So I think we need to review the procedures that we use for projects abroad. Secondly, even in the host country, Nepal, for instance, there are a lot of issues relating to land acquisition, and these lead to a lot of delays. So what we have now done is that we have set up a monitoring committee between India and Nepal, and this committee meets every 3 months and reviews all the important projects and identifies the problems. And I think as a result of this, project implementation has certainly improved. In fact, if you look at the oil pipeline project between Motihari and Amlekganj, this was completed in record time, even before schedule. So things are improving.
Ambassador Ray, as you mentioned about yoga and birthplace of Lord Ram, and we also see that Nepal and India historically have also had a very strong people-to-people tie and a very strong cultural tie. How much does this cultural tie play into the relationship? Because we also often say that the cultural and the people-to-people tie that India and Nepal share, for example, China can never share. How much does this play into the larger relationship?
So it is a critical aspect and it is fundamental to the relationship. The relationship between India and Nepal is not just a relationship between the two governments. It is strong because it is a relationship at the people-to-people level. But we cannot take this for granted. We have to continue building on this relationship. We have been talking about development of a Ramayana circuit, a Buddhist circuit, a pilgrimage circuit. We have, sister agreements between Kathmandu and Banaras, between Janakpur and Ayodhya. All these agreements have to be invested with programs. There need to be cultural programs. There need to be people-to-people exchanges, parliamentary exchanges. Otherwise, these will remain only on paper. And as I said that, we have to build and nourish and further strengthen this relationship through joint programs. Otherwise, over a period of time, this very strong aspect of our relationship will get diluted. There is a new generation in Nepal, young Nepalese who are traveling all over the world, not only to India. Indians are also traveling all over the world. So, we have to keep working at this relationship.
Master Ray, sometimes when one reads what is written in the Nepalese media, one also gets a sense, and you had mentioned this earlier in the conversation, that India has to be a little careful because we are a bigger nation. So sometimes a lot of people in Nepal feel that maybe because India is a bigger nation, we also tend to act a little like a big brother. Do you think that is something that gets written about, but it's also a real concern? Maybe we need to deal with Nepal with a slightly more sensitive touch.
I agree with you. And, this is a structural issue. I mean, Nepal is a small country. It is surrounded on three sides by India. India is huge. If you're sitting in Kathmandu and looking south, you see yourself totally surrounded by India. So this psychology then plays out in Nepal. So it's very important for India to be sensitive to this and never give this impression that we are, big brother, or we are patronizing, or we look down on Nepal. So I think that is very important. In fact, in Nepal, senior people have told me that, why does India talk about bhai bhai ka rishta? We only want to be friends. Because, in a bhai bhai ka rishta, there is an elder brother and a younger brother, and we don't want to be the younger brother. We want to be equal partners and friends with India. And I think we must respect this sentiment.
Ambassador Ray, if you were to say in the India-Nepal relationship, if you were to point out three focus areas, that these are the areas maybe where India needs to focus on so that this relationship with time grows in strength, which are those three focus areas that you would point out?
Economic partnership through hydropower, improving our connectivity, whether it is rail, road, digital, oil pipelines, and stepping up people-to-people exchanges. I think we need to really focus on these three areas, which will provide a very strong basis for renewed and more vigorous relationship.
And in the coming days, we will continue our discussions about India's neighborhood first policy and our relationship with Nepal. With these comments, we bring today's discussion to an end. Thank you.
This is All India Radio, giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Kuwait's Prime Minister Sheikh Sabha Khalid has been reappointed as Prime Minister and tasked with forming a cabinet that would be the Gulf OPEC oil producers' third this year in a domestic political standoff. State news agency Kuna said Sheikh Sabha, Prime Minister since late 2019, was reappointed by an emiri order issued by Crown Prince Sheikh Meshal Al Ahmed Al Sabah. The government had resigned on 8th of this month in the standoff with the elected parliament. Emir Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Sabah last week temporarily handed over some of the main constitutional duties to the Crown Prince, his designated successor, including naming the Prime Minister and swearing in the cabinet. China and ASEAN have agreed to advance cooperation under the framework of ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific AOIP as China for the first time agreed to the concept of Indo-Pacific. Joint statement of the ASEAN-China Special Virtual Summit to commemorate the 30th anniversary of ASEAN-China dialogue relations held on Monday said AOIP is aimed to develop enhanced strategic trust and win-win cooperation between the countries in the region. Chinese President Xi Jinping also mentioned AOIP in his speech while addressing the summit as co-chair via video link.
United States has added 4 Afghan men to its designated global terrorist list, including Ismatullah Khalozai, who was designated as a key financial facilitator for ISIL Khorasan in Afghanistan. U.S. Treasury Department designated Khalozai an individual who has acted as a financial facilitator for the Islamic State's Khorasan province, ISIL Khorasan, active in Afghanistan. According to the department, 3 more individuals, Sultan Aziz Azam, Sanaullah Ghaffari, Maulavi Razab, were also added to the specially designated global terrorist list. U.S. government alleged that Khalozai was transferring funds to finance ISIL Khorasan operations from Turkey for a period of 2 years. And now a report from the business world.
The BSE Sensex rose 198 points or 0.34% to trade at 58,664. The NSE Nifty also surged 87 points or 0.5% to trade at 17,503. Amongst the global stock markets, most of the Asia-Pacific stocks logged losses. China Shanghai Composite Index climbed 0.2%, while Singapore's Straits Times fell 0.3%. South Korea's Kospi fell 0.5%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng declined 1.2%. Trade did not take place in Japan's Nikkei 225. European shares were also tumbled, and in the intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $80 per barrel. Back home, gold prices fell 260 rupees at the multi-commodity exchange for December contracts, in sync with losses in the global markets. The precious metal was trading at 47,665 rupees per 10 grams. In the intraday trade, silver also plunged 1,160 rupees to 63,410 rupees per kilogram for December contracts when reports last came in. And in the forex market, the rupee weakens 2 paise to close at 74 rupees and 42 paise against the US dollar. Nishit Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
Odisha capital Bhubaneswar is all set to host the FI Edge Hockey Men's Junior World Cup beginning tomorrow. The mega sporting event is scheduled to continue till 5th of December. Both the Sports and Youth Services Department of State Government and Hockey India have made all necessary arrangements for the mega event. Indian shuttlers Parupali Kashyap and Lakshay bowed out of the ongoing Indonesia Open today. While Kashyap lost by 11-21, 14-21 to Singapore's Loh Keen Yew, Kento Momoto of Japan defeated Sen by 23-21, 21-15. The men's doubles pair of M.R. Arjun and Dhruv Kapila also were out of the tournament. South Korea's duo of Koi Soe-gyu and Kim Pon-ho defeated Arjun and Kapila by 22-20, 21-13.
In Britain, the online bank Atom Bank has introduced a 4-day work week for its 430 staff without cutting their pay. Employees now work 34 hours over 4 days and get Monday or Friday off, when previously they clocked up 37.5 hours across the whole week. However, employees will have to work longer hours on the days they work. UK has added India's indigenously made Covaxin to its list of approved corona vaccines for international travellers. The move will benefit more fully vaccinated Indians planning to travel to the UK without the need for a pre-departure PCR test or self-isolation at the address declared on their compulsory passenger locator forms. Earlier this month, the Bharat Biotech manufactured Covaxin had received its WHO emergency use listing status, resulting in the UK announcing plans to include it on its list of approved COVID vaccines from November 22nd.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Wall Street Journal writes, US others to tap oil reserves in a bid to bring down prices. The Globe and Mail says, short, no surprise, throne speech expected to recap Liberal election promises. The Guardian reports UK will press governments to stick to climate pledges, says COP26 president. Sputnik News writes, US and Taiwan hold second meeting of annual economic dialogue, reports say. Financial Times writes, France and Italy seek to boost EU influence with friendship treaty. South China Morning Post reports Russian President Vladimir Putin will be in Beijing for 2022 Winter Olympics. Khalid Times reports Saudi-led coalition targets Houthi military sites in Sana'a airstrikes. Tashkent Times says natural disasters inflict nearly $3 billion worth of damage annually in Uzbekistan.
A quick look at the headlines once again. India agrees to release 5 million barrels of crude oil from its strategic petroleum reserves. President Ramnath Kovind confers gallantry awards as a third defense investiture ceremony today. India and United States reaffirm their commitment to take economic relationship to next high level. Germany issues a serious warning to its citizens as the country adds 30,643 new cases on Monday. 46 people die in a bus accident in western Bulgaria. And in hockey, Men's Junior World Cup 2021 tournament to begin in Bhubaneswar on Wednesday. India is celebrating the 152nd birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Oman.
वैष्णो भजन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे पर दुखे उपकार करे तो ये मन अभिमान नाने रे वैष्णो भजन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे सकल लोग मां सहुने वंदे निंदा न कर.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.